And that was the fourth time China has abstained on such a vote. But on Friday, it published a 12-point proposal to end fighting between Ukraine and Russia. Let's speak to Yena Lee in Beijing. Hello to you, Yena. What more details do you have on this report?
Well, Beijing has called for a ceasefire, for peace talks, saying that they are against any use of nuclear weapons and that they are against sanctions. Now, none of this is particularly new. What is interesting, though, is that the first point on that document really sums up Beijing's diplomatic tightrope. It reads, "A respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity." Now, this has been Beijing's mantra, and it still is Beijing's mantra with anything regarding Taiwan, Tibet, and Hong Kong. And it's interesting to note that in this document, in that paragraph, the words Ukraine and Russia aren't even mentioned. So we don't know whose sovereignty and whose territory they're actually talking about. It's definitely a document that lacks a lot of detail, one where Beijing is really trying to position itself as a peace-loving potential mediator in this conflict. Because from the very start of the war, China has insisted on its neutrality, and this has become more and more difficult to justify and explain as of late. We saw earlier this week Wang Yi, China's top foreign policy official, traveling to Moscow, sitting down with Vladimir Putin ahead of this crucial anniversary date. And right now, as we speak, China is undergoing military drills with Russia. So here in China, the state media has often talked about NATO provocations at the start of the war. These are very similar to the Kremlin's talking points. China also talks about how it loves peace and how it stands for non-alignment. And this kind of vocabulary is something that can have some sway in developing nations, in non-Western countries, and especially with the domestic audience here in China.
Yeah, so that's the official line. What's public opinion like there on the war?
It's really difficult to determine public opinion in a country that has so much censorship and propaganda, but the overwhelming sentiment here is one of pro-Russia. There's a lot of solidarity against what many people here see as a country standing up to the West and fighting back against all odds. It's a David and Goliath situation, if you will. Never mind the Ukrainians. Russia is fighting against the West. That's how many people see it here. And there's a lot of distrust as well towards NATO here in China ever since the deadly bombing of a Chinese embassy back in 1999. Which is an incident that many Chinese people have not forgiven or forgotten.
All right, Yena, thank you very much. Yena Lee reporting from Beijing.